context of today's presentation, we'll be talking about AI and social media marketing. AI meets social, smarter content, stronger strategies. My name is Luis Quiroz. I'm the founder and lead consultant at Trending Socials, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you guys. So thank you so much for having me. I do have a liability statement, so the information provided in this webinar and any supplementary materials provided to you are intended for educational and informational purposes only and do not constitute professional, financial, or legal advice. All registrants should act or, no registrant should act or fail to act on the basis of any material contained in this webinar without obtaining a proper financial, legal, or other professional advice specific to your situation. So that said, let's go ahead and dive in. It's a very fun topic for me. And I just want to make sure that I am sharing screen. If you're not sharing my screen, let me know, but I see a full screen here. Today's agenda. We're going to jump into a quick intro, tell you a little bit about me. We'll talk about what AI is and how it is specific to social media marketing. We'll talk about key use cases, top AI tools for social media. We'll also talk about an AI workflow. I'll actually give you my workflow of how I use AI in my day-to-day, specifically for social media, for marketing. Ethical considerations to take into account, because that is a big question mark as it relates to artificial intelligence, ownership, copyright. So we'll talk a little bit about that, how to get started with AI, the future of AI, and I'll open it up for the last part of our conversation for questions and answers. I can do live demonstrations, anything that you have an itch to know more about, let me know. We'll workshop it together in the last half of this presentation of our hour together. So that said, let's jump right in. I have something fun to share. I do need to make one quick technical adjustment. Give me 1 second. Perfect.
Hi everyone, I'm Luis, the founder of Trending Socials. Today we're diving into AI, specifically how it can supercharge your social media strategy. Let's start by seeing who here has already tried AI in some form.
Okay, I wanted to start with that because that is an AI generated video. I never spoke those words, and with a simple prompting and yeah, with a simple prompt, it was able to generate that video. I did have to feed it information. So one thing about AI is it loves a sample, loves a source. So we'll talk about how I was able to generate that. And we'll dive into that as we get to that topic. But real quick, as my avatar mentioned, right, my name is Luis. I'm the founder of Trending Socials, digital marketing agency based in California. My office is in San Francisco, and I'm also a small business development center advisor for the Small Business Administration, based with the office based here in San Francisco. I do content, I do campaigns, I do strategy, and I most recently became AI University certified with the SBDC. So meaning I'm able to support small businesses through SBDC's standards for AI and using AI in their business. So any questions I can answer for you. I'm happy to be a resource. I would love to see you jump into the chat. Just let me know, what have you used? What is AI in your world, right? What AI tools have you used to create content before? And that can be written, images, video, any uh, generative content app or tool that you've used. I'd just kind of like to know where we're at, get a little baseline temperature check. So if you could just jump into the chat, or feel free to unmute, but you can just jump into the chat and let me know what tools you've used. Catherine has, I see Chat GPT. Chris has used Chat GPT, Sora, Plot AI. And it's for content, for social media marketing, for flyers. Yeah, these are all excellent use cases for social media and probably the most appropriate, right? Generating posts, graphics, images, Video, you can generate video. As you saw in my intro slide, right? You can generate yourself. You basically clone yourself and do video of yourself speaking. So if you find yourself doing a lot of speaking videos, that is a tool you can utilize, you can tap into. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But what we know as uh, uh, in terms of AI, we know it's generative AI, so artificial intelligence. Generative meaning it creates, right? So it can create written content and some graphics as well. So we'll talk about each of the use cases that it applies to, but let's jump into a definition of AI. So when we think of AI in social media marketing, so AI, the use of artificial intelligence tools and technologies to create, to manage, to optimize, and to analyze content on social media platforms faster and smarter than doing it manually. So it can take data in large forms and really analyze it much quicker, much faster, much more efficiently than we would be able to do it manually. Think of AI as an assistant, not your replacement, rather a super assistant that helps you come up with content ideas, helps you write clever captions, helps you write in your brand voice, probably even better than you could at a certain point. Once you've trained your AI tool, right? Once you've trained the platform that you're using, it can help you design posts, understand your audience, even figure out the best times to publish. We're going to talk about some social media listening and planning AI tools in a little bit, and all in a fraction of the time that it used to take. So it really helps just exponentially get through things quicker, plan things faster, and execute much more efficiently than doing it on your own. So if you're not using AI, you are falling behind because your competitors are. So it's not a matter of if you're using it, but rather when, because it is the new wave. It is something that we have to learn to adapt to, because like I said, if you're not using it, your competitors are, and that's an advantage you don't want them having over you. An important distinction to note as well is automation versus artificial intelligence. So automation versus AI. So the definition of automation is pre-programmed rules or actions that are triggered by specific conditions. An example could be scheduling a post to go live go live every Monday at 10 a.m. And so the way it works is you tell the system, whatever system you're using, whatever software, it's lots of software out there that does this. You tell the software what to do and when to do it, right? You give it a specific action, a specific task, and it executes at a specific time with a specific trigger. The goal here is to save time on repetitive tasks, right? That's automation. Artificial intelligence, AI, is technology that mimics human thinking, learning, reasoning, and adapting to data that it's provided, to the input that it's provided. An example of this can be that AI suggests the best posting time based on past engagement or writes captions in your brand's voice. So the difference between this, it's actually getting ahead of of what you're thinking. And it's not just following a command, it's actually analyzing data and suggesting times to post versus telling it to post at 10 a.m. It's going to say, well, what about 9 a.m.? Most of your audience is actually more engaged at 9 a.m. It's a better time, da 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 da. It gives you that full explanation, right? And so that's one difference. The way it works is that the system analyzes this data, learns its patterns, and makes smart recommendations or creates content. The goal here is to make smarter decisions and personalize content at scale. So those are the two big distinctions between AI and automation. Automation follows rules, AI learns patterns. So you can use both together for powerful, scalable content strategies. Some key use cases for AI in social media. So Content ideas and planning. One of the first parts, right, is thinking of what to create, what to post. I know a lot of you have sat in front of your, or probably staring at your phone with the app open and just thinking like, what am I going to post? Or having your website open, you're like, what am I going to write? So content ideation, brainstorming, planning, this is all great use case for the beginning stage of content creation for your social media content, website content, what have you. Trend analysis, hashtag suggestions, blog writing, SEO optimization, seasonal content prompts, you name it, it can do it, right? It starts with a problem. What problem are you looking to solve? What are you looking to generate? Copywriting and captions, writing post captions, adjusting the tone of voice, um, creating content that is relevant, that resonates with your target audience, writing content in your particular voice, right? In your candor or your tenor. If you're a little bit more corporate, a little bit more formal versus a little bit more casual or a little bit more friendly, right? It can adapt to what you suggest, right? To the input that you offer. Visual content creation, you've got AI generated graphics, you've got real ideas, storyboarding with AI, and actual video creation with just a text prompt. Social listening and insights, so learning what's trending, getting a sentiment analysis, understanding customer feedback, and aggregating all that data and being able to analyze it really efficiently in one source. Scheduling and optimization, so learning the best time to post, testing different creatives, engagement prediction, right? These are all use cases for AI in social media marketing. We'll talk about some specific tools next, but before I jump into that, I want to just give you my personal workflow, how I use AI with my clients, with my own content to really supercharge and get more done. So step number one, content generation, idea generation. What are we going to talk about? What topics? What content pillars, right? What are the trends? So we use AI to brainstorm post topics, brainstorm hooks, or campaign themes. And the tools for that could be ChatGPT. That's my preferred generative AI platform, but there's Predis.ai, there's Jasper, some of the other tools that you guys also named in the chat. But we start with an idea, right? What are the topics that we want to talk about? And then we move over to actual copywriting, generating captions in different tones, adding emojis, removing emojis, adding calls to action or hashtags, right? You can use tools such as copy.ai, Grammarly.go, and ChatGPT, again, my personal favorite, to create the copy, the written copy for your post, for your blog, for your website, for your sales page, for your emails, you name it, it'll write it, right? One thing I love about generative AI is that it follows instructions, right? And it can also it remembers things. So you do want to train your for example, in ChatGPT, right? You can train your custom GPT or you can train your project on one specific task. So if it's your email assistant, for example, you can have it write emails in your tone of voice. The way I would do this is set it up so that it is understanding your tone of voice, right? So actually feed it examples, right? Feed it previous emails you've written or previous campaigns you've sent out so that it can begin to understand your pace, your tenor, your just your style of writing. And this applies to, I know I'm saying emails, but this applies to sales copy on your landing page. This applies to captions in your social media. You can actually feed it previous captions of content that performed really well, for example, and say, hey, ChatGPT, you are my copywriter for social media captions on Instagram. These have worked really well in the past, and then feed them, boom, 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 feed them into the GPT. I know that there's also paid versus free versions, right? The paid version on ChatGPT lets you do these projects and lets you feed it documents, feed it information, and it is processing much more information versus the free accounts. So there may be some limits in just the freemium, the free, I call them freemium, right? Because they're free up to a certain point and then they become premium um, services. ChatGPT was one of those freemiums where it was I quickly saw the value of it and started, paying for the subscription, the monthly subscription. Consider it a really, really inexpensive assistant because that's really what a lot of these tools are. I don't recommend buying all of them, right? Paying for all of these services. You don't need all of these services. Just find the ones that you like, that you enjoy using, because there's a lot of factors. User interface, um, tech savviness. Some of them you don't need to be tech savvy, some of them you do. And so just kind of weigh out the options. I digress. Let me jump back into caption and copywriting. So yeah, so you can train your GPTs or your learning models, your AI models that you're using to to create in your tone of voice or in your brand voice. Number three, visual creation. So design branded graphics and AI generated images or thumbnails with tools like Canva AI, Adobe, and Midjourney, just to name a few. So now you have the written component, and with a few other tools, you have the visual component. Number four in my AI workflow, hashtag and SEO optimization. So again, AI is really good at analyzing a lot of data at once. So you can actually use AI to find the best hashtags for your particular industry, for your niche, or the biggest trending phrases, or the biggest trends in general, right? With social media trends in your particular niche, and it will give you that output, that data. You can use tools like Flick, Later, and ChatGPT to produce these results. Number five, now we went from idea to written copy to our visual to our optimization. Now we want to post and we want to gather insights. How effective was this post? Um, so you can schedule the content with AI optimized posting times using tools such as Later, such as Buffer. My preferred tool is Sked Social. It is a bigger, more enterprise type of software, but it does a lot of the same things that these other platforms do. You can analyze predicted performance or engagement. So you can actually see what posts did better at certain times and try to replicate that success or learn from those mistakes and get better and better quicker. You can use, like I mentioned, tools such as Later, Buffer, Sprout Social, or Meta's own Advantage Plus when they're with their ad creation tools to do these things. So this is a very short list of some of the top AI tools. If you scan this QR, you'll get a larger PDF, and I'll make this PDF available if you don't scan it right now with the recording. I'll make sure Catherine sends that out. But this is just a short list. The scan code has a couple dozen more. But we break it down, right? Tools by copywriting, top tools by visual creation, top tools by reels or video content creation, and top tools for insights and strategy. The first one listed are my personal favorites that I use day in, day out. So for copywriting, I use ChatGPT. For visuals, I use Canva AI. For video, I use InVideo AI. For insights and strategy, again, I use an enterprise tool called Sked Social, but there are others if you're just managing one account for your business or one brand, such as your Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, Google My Business page. You can manage all of those for one brand under these other platforms, Buffer, Sprout Social, Later. There's a lot of tools out there. I think really what it comes down to is what problem am I trying to solve? And then that will lead you to figuring out what the right tool is, right? So don't go in to any of these platforms without thinking about that first, because that will get overwhelming because you can really do so much with each of these platforms. Some of them are better than others. I'm going to talk about a few specific AI platforms here shortly. But if you scan this this QR, you'll get a more comprehensive checklist with some pros and cons of my favorite tools that I've tested. And we can't get into all of them for this shorter presentation, but the checklist will give you a few more options. So for content creation, let's take a little look at content creation in action. So as I mentioned, you can use ChatGPT. And again, this would be the paid version. The paid version gives you access to the most updated content on the web, right? So it scours the web for real-time relevant content. I believe the free version is up until a certain year. I think it ends at uh 2023. Don't quote me on that, but it has a limit, right? It's not the most relevant information, whereas the paid version gives you more access to current live information. So I simply prompted it, what are the latest Instagram trends for short form video? Share your top three. So what it's doing, it's actually scouring the internet and providing me with the most relevant answers. Now, mind you, this ChatGPT is going to give me different answers than it's going to give you because mine has been trained on being a digital marketer, on providing trending topics, and having a wider small business niche versus if you train your ChatGPT or if you start curating your AI model to be more in particular to your niche, it'll provide you more customized results. So you won't get the same results as me. And I'm just showing like the top two, but just to give you an example, this was the prompt and the response was trend number one. How are you going to spend your life trend? Gives you a quick overview of what this trend looks like online and a source. So this actually came from a blog called Later, which is also a automation and AI tool for social media that you can schedule posts, optimize times, social listening, and all those other things I've just been talking about. So that's pretty relevant. And I remember um, looking at the source, and it was published in March this year, so it's very relevant. It was like a week ago. So it's scouring for pretty relevant, timely trends. So it's a great way to generate ideas and aggregate data, aggregate information much quicker, much more efficiently than if you were going to scroll Instagram or scroll TikTok and try to look for the top trends in your niche, right? That can take a little bit longer. So this kind of helps you get to it a little bit faster. It's just boom, 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 tells you the top three. It gives you the audio, so you can actually see what audio this trend is referring to, current number of posts, etc. And you can customize this even further to give you specifics that you wanted to report on, right? So you can actually customize the report and have it be the same each time that you ask it, so that it can provide you the most relevant results with the exact information you're looking for. This is a visual prompt that was generated the text prompt that was generated into a visual using Canva AI tools. This again is on the paid version of Canva. So if you don't have the paid version, you don't have access to these tools. Um, but there are some other free image generating tools out there that are not Canva AI, such as Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, and others that do have some free component. But the prompt was simply a close-up shot of vintage perfume bottles, cosmetics, handheld mirror, and jewelry on a vintage vanity. Subtle shimmer, soft warm, golden natural light, soft focus, low contrast, very warm hues, very specific. And it was able to generate a pretty good result, I would say. Now, one thing to note with visual content is that any words, any text, and any humans in the content will not we're not quite there yet with AI. It may look a little distorted, and that is a symptom of the content generating tools. They're not quite there yet at mastering the human form, specifically fingers and toes. Sometimes there's um, extra fingers. And the writing, you'll notice that the writing is not legible. Sometimes it looks like it's making something out, but it's not quite writing. So just be mindful of that. This prompt asked for no text, right? It was very specific at the tone and look and feel of what we were trying to capture. And I'd say it did a pretty good job. And if you're not happy, you can continue prompting it to give you a desired outcome, desired result. The use of video, AI generated video. So I wanted to share just a quick sizzle reel from the actual uh, platform. So this platform I'm showing here is InVideo AI. And I wanted to see if there's no audio on this one, but you can highlight you can give it a text prompt and it will generate AI video for you. This is a lot better than Canva's AI video. Canva does have a video tool, but it is nowhere near as good as some of the others that are already out there, such as InVideo AI. I do also want to share the InVideo. So let's take a look at the InVideo sizzle reel.
What if all you need to create a video is an idea?
Pack a giant bubble wrap suit and roll into the black hole and explore your own private planet.
A giant bubble wrap suit, you'll see, will protect you from gravity's glee. Just pop some bubbles and you'll be right. No need to worry, it's a funny sight. Imagine waking up to the sound of space-time being distorted each day. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
So it's really, really neat that you can give it a text prompt, you can make adjustments, and it will follow suit, right? It will adjust based on your requests. There's another one called VideoGen, which they actually use a library of content. So VideoGen uses both automation and artificial intelligence. So they have a library of stock footage, but what they do is they base it on your story or based on your text prompt, they will create a video. And so a lot of it is sourced from their stock footage library, and some of it is AI generated. Um, the results are good. They do pretty good stuff. The reason I'm a little hesitant is it's not perfect. So I've used it a few times. It's not 100% perfect. Let's take a quick look at their sizzle reel.
Over centuries, it grew into a vast empire. Rome began as a small village by the Tiber River. Over centuries, it grew into a vast empire.
Again, give it a text script and it will create video for you. You actually have the ability to customize clips. I ran into the problem with VideoGen, that the clips were if you customize it with your own video clips, they had to be compatible. So if you used an iPhone, for example, it was not able to use your iPhone footage. It did have to be like an MP4 versus a .mov. So there was some like technical specs that were needed to be worked out. This was a few weeks ago, so these tools are evolving rapidly. They may have ironed out that kink, but there's just little things, right? You won't really know until you kind of get started with the tools, start using them, and really feeling it out for yourself, what you're comfortable with, what you like. What I will say is about these tools is that they really try to make it as user friendly as possible. So the user interfaces are very, very intuitive. So that's one thing. There's not a lot of need for tech savviness. Really, with the biggest thing is learning how to prompt it, right? So the best way to do it is just to try different prompts, right? Try different things, try rephrasing it in a different way, because you will always get different results. One thing I've noted is being very action word driven really creates stronger prompts versus more passive language. So keep that in mind when you are prompting for both written, video, or graphic image graphic content. And the last one I want to share was the Hey Gen. So this is the one where you can actually create an avatar clone of yourself. As you saw in my video and at the intro of this workshop, it's a little stiff. It doesn't quite sound like me. At least I don't think it does. And there's a little bit of like syncopation that is not quite working. So it's a little glitchy in my view, but it's really neat what it claims to do, what it's able to do. Um, I've also tried playing around with different avatars, right? And so the one thing that this does require for you to do is to upload a 30-second video of your avatar. So I set myself up behind a blank wall and I spoke for 30 seconds. And from that, it's able to generate your avatar. And you can use this avatar to feed it any script and it will generate it. Pretty interesting. You don't have to use yourself. That's another really cool part about the Hey Gen is you can create a completely new avatar based on a prompt. Just kind of tell it what you want it to look like, the age, etc. And you can create your completely AI generated avatar. So these are some stock options of publicly available avatars, or again, you can make your own. But yeah, and this avatar will speak and you can give it any script and it will deliver on the script. So that's one pretty neat tool. There's others on the list that are for the purposes of this presentation, I'm not going to get into too much into detail, but there's others that you can create songs with. So AI generated songs, music, AI generated what's the other? Yeah, I mean there's a breadth of tools and there's a couple that are similar to what Canva does. But in my experience using other similar tools, Canva is superior and a great value for what the others are offering or are not offering that Canva does all inclusively. So the best strategy is to test things out, try out different prompts, and you will find the ones that you gravitate to most. Opus Clip. This is another one that I last one that I wanted to share here. So if you are repurposing content, say you create a long form content for your business, for YouTube, or you have a podcast, you can create smaller clips with Opus Clip. So you upload or drop the video link of the longer form content, and Opus Clip will, with AI, find the best short form content based on that longer clip and deliver that in smaller bites for Reels, TikTok, for YouTube Shorts. And it uses AI to determine which clips would be the most engaging, which clips have the best calls to action, the most interesting hooks. And it uses AI to also reframe your longer video into a shorter video. As you're kind of seeing in this example here on screen, it reframes it, right, with the same time stamps. but it just creates that overlap so you can see both at once, or that zoom in, and it does this all using AI. Because if you do any video editing, you know that these things take so much time. So with tools like this, it really condenses that into, minutes. One long video, 10 viral clips, 10 times faster. So another component of AI and social media marketing is the whole social listening, optimizing for posting times, and caption assistant. There's a lot of tools out there. I use an enterprise tool called Sked Social. Something very similar for brands and small businesses that you could use is called Buffer, Buffer. Another tool is called Later, Later. It was called Later because it started as a scheduling platform to schedule content for later. And it's now evolved into a suite of AI tools such as social listening, caption assistant, idea generation. They're now all-inclusive AI social media assistants, essentially. Again, it comes down to what your budget is and what your needs are, because some are more have a bigger capacity for many accounts, and some are more just for one business, one or two business operations. Here's a quick screenshot of what Sked looks like, but you can actually use their workshop tool to generate ideas. You can use their social listening to see what people are saying in the comments about your brand, about your business, and aggregate that data to create a report on what your ranking is, right? With your customer satisfaction or your favorability. You can calendar and schedule things on optimized times. You can plan things visually on a grid planner. You can save templates. You can save drafts. Lots and lots of capacity. Think of it as your social media marketing assistant, if you will. So some things that are things to consider, right, when it comes to AI or ethical considerations, because AI is powerful, but it is not perfect. Some pros, some pitfalls, and some ethic considerations. Let's talk a little bit about those. So pros: faster content, scalable creativity, exponentially faster output, more ideas, a great brainstorm partner. Pitfalls: it can lend to generic content, it can lend to loss of brand voice, and it can be overused. One thing, like I was mentioning, right, with my avatar that I created, it's good. It's not perfect. I couldn't imagine myself using that to replace me in the content that I post when I'm speaking to camera. I do find that I feel like trends may evolve, may change. So I may not feel this way in a year or two, but also in a year or two, I think things will evolve dramatically, and those clones will look a lot better. We're still at that point where you can still tell if something is AI. I think two things will be happening. I think AI will get better. All the creative output will equal or supersede what we can do manually, but over time. And I also think that we will also be more forgiving, right? Knowing that something is AI, but not necessarily having that be a negative thing, right? It's just a norm. And one of the biggest things to this is the trend that we saw with like Instagram, apps like Instagram. When that first launched and businesses were applying Instagram, everything had to be perfect, color coordinated, professional photography. Eventually that went out the window and people were actually looking for something more organic, more authentic, more homemade. And we saw the rise of selfie videos, right? Just talking to camera directly. And honestly, testing this over and over, a professionally produced video performed far less than a self-made selfie camera video when our businesses were doing that content. So we saw that trend really dissolve, right? Of having to be perfect and perfectly produced. That really, there's still a time and a place for it, but I think specifically on social media, users are now numb to that and they prefer more of that authentic, homemade feel. It just feels more relatable, more believable, more authentic, and less I'm being sold to, right? It feels much less like I'm being um targeted because it just feels like a friend or someone sharing something organically. So those are some of the pros, some of the pitfalls. And then there's ethic considerations, right? Transparency, sharing that you're using AI. It's not really been a common practice, but I've seen some marketers use disclaimers in their emails, for example. Just sharing a disclaimer that parts of this email may have been enhanced with AI. I do see that being a practice in the future where we are sharing disclaimers of using AI. Transparency, authenticity, intellectual property concerns. So who is the owner of the content that you're creating? Can you use it for commercial purposes? A lot of these new apps and services and softwares that are popping up, um, are not very clear on that. And knowing that AI is using a lot of copywritten material as a source from the World Wide Web and from all the data sources that it's gathering, some of our content is liable for plagiarism, right? It could be, not intentionally, but it could very well could be. And so those are some of the ethical concerns around artificial intelligence um, when it comes to generative content, whether it's written form, whether it's visual. So keep those things in mind. It's always important to have a human in the loop approach when using any AI tool to fact check. Of course, you don't want to put things out there that are not necessarily relevant. One common thing in AI are what we call hallucinations, and that's when AI doesn't have an answer necessarily, but it just makes one up, right? And it happens rarely, but it does happen. And so a human in the loop is very important to catch those instances and to correct them and to amend them and making sure that you're putting something out there that is appropriate for the brand, for your business, to represent you, that is not, creating these or violating any copyright or infringing on anyone's intellectual property. Another thing with ethics is, deep fakes, right? The misinformation and misleading people, and that can tarnish a reputation, tarnish people's personal brands. And so those are things that we should just keep in mind that are possible use cases for AI. Unfortunately, there are always going to be bad actors, and we can't prevent these things fully from happening. But those are some of the ethical considerations. And as I was mentioning, right, who owns AI generated content? A lot of these privacy note, when you agree to the terms and conditions of any platform that you're using, any digital platform, you are agreeing to their terms and conditions. And sometimes they state that they are owners of the content, that you cannot use it for commercial purposes. Others allow you to use it for commercial purposes. So it's just important to be aware. Most of the platforms that I am specifically talking about, Opus Clip, HeyGen, ChatGPT, they all allow you to use their generated content for commercial purposes and personal use, but there are others out there that may not be as clear about it or may even be tricky about it. So just keep that in mind. So some tips for staying ethical and safe. You can use AI tools with clear licensing policies, like those offering full commercial rights. So keeping an eye out for that specific clause, free commercial use. Edit, customize, and humanize the content that you're creating with AI to make it original. So don't necessarily just copy and paste it. Add your own approach to it, right? Edit it, customize it. so that it feels more original. And one great way to customize it is by actually providing it with your own writing samples, like I was mentioning earlier, providing it with your own templates and things like that, so that it is using your information. Another one is avoid generating content in the style of a specific artist or brand unless you have permission, right? So you can prompt AI to create a monologue in the style of one of your favorite late night comedians, right? And so that's a slippery slope because you're emulating, you're copying someone's style. So if you're using that as a prompt, that is most likely, it's great for personal use, maybe for fun, but it would be an ethical violation if you're using it for commercial use. Stay informed. AI and the legal landscape surrounding it is evolving quickly. So stay informed, stay on top of it, use it. By all means, use it. Don't let these things kind of scare you off. But use it and get comfortable with it, get yourself familiar with it because it is not going away. And the more that we're just able to stay informed, stay on top of it, the more comfortable that we're going to be using these tools, using these platforms. One quick note on using AI for social media, right? You always want to start with a problem, right? Going into AI and wanting to use it, that can be very daunting, and that's not a great first step. What I would encourage you is to identify where you need help, right? Are you stuck on the idea portion? Is that really kind of where what's preventing you from even creating social media content? Are you stuck on the visuals, right? Figure out where it is that you need help. Identify 1 to 2 problem areas, and then identify 1 to 2 tools to test in each of these areas, right? We talked about specific use cases for creating ideas, generating ideas, for sourcing trends, for brainstorming. So if that is one of the areas you need help with, let's start there. If you are good at the brainstorming, you're good at the ideas, and you really need help with the video component, maybe you can experiment with some of the video tools. If you're creating content that is a little more generic, because again, the tools that are imitating you or cloning you are not quite there yet, in my view, to use for commercial use. If it's something a little more generic, more storytelling component, or just more stock footage heavy, then you can use some of the tools that I shared, such as in video, such as some of the others that we talked about today that do that, right? So figuring out where you need help, picking 1 or 2 tools to test, and then creating the human and AI workflow where you are integrating yourself in the process and making edits as needed into the output that is produced. You also want to document tone and voice for consistent outputs. One sure way to do this is, again, to train your GPT or create a custom GPT, feed it your samples, your work samples, let it create a baseline for it to understand your tone. Are you corporate? Are you more friendly? Are you more like you're talking to a friend, right? What is the approach? What is the brand tone that you're working with? And let AI know, feed it those baseline data points so that it knows what to produce for you, how to produce it for you. So you can document it or you can feed it into the knowledge base. I did talk about looking ahead into the future a little bit already, right? I don't see AI going anywhere. So learning it now and getting comfortable with it now is probably the best approach. And so you're starting now by attending workshops like these. So don't stop here. Keep testing. Try out some of the tools in that checklist, that cheat sheet that I shared with you. At the end of the day, you are not going to be replaced with AI, but you will be replaced with someone who is using AI. So at the heart of AI is the creator, is us, the business owner. We are leading the future of AI with the problems we're solving with it, with the asks that we're creating. AI influencers. Oh, the future of AI. I see AI influencers. I see full on influencers like we know, but that are completely AI generated. I see dynamic content based on user behavior. I see real-time trend adaptation, predictive content, conversational AI. I feel like we're there already, but there's a lot of tools that are coming out where you can straight up have conversations, and they feel natural. The role of marketers as editors and brands and stewards is also adapting. Like I said, I don't think marketers are being replaced. I think marketers that are not using AI are going to be replaced. So it's a fine line, fine difference, but we're just scratching the surface um, with AI. I hope that you found this insightful, useful. Would love to know if anyone has any questions, and I'd also like to know what is one way that you want to use AI next month? And I say next month because we're just a couple days out into April. So no pressure on starting in March. But in April, what is one way that you want to use AI next? If you have any responses, please share that in the chat, along with any questions you may have. Um,
Well, first, can I just say thank you. That was great. That was some really great content you had there. Um, I was curious, what content are you consuming right now with AI being such a large umbrella and trying to stay up on it and what's going on? What content are you consuming? What podcasts are you listening to? What books are
yeah.
you reading to kind of keep the pulse on what's going on?
Great question. I think that there are so many resources, and if you're like me, it can get overwhelming. What I like to focus on, there's a couple newsletters that I'm subscribed to that I find really valuable, and there's one podcast that breaks it down it breaks it down to the basics. And there's one particular podcast. I'm looking her name up. I know her name. I know her name. It's Amy. But the podcast itself, I think just had a name change. But I want to give you there it is. It's called The Online Marketing, no, The Amy Porterfield Show. So she's an online marketer. I'm gonna write this in the chat. Thank you. The Amy Porterfield Show. Yes. She's a brilliant digital marketer, and she just had a couple episodes with AI marketing professionals on her show, and they broke it down really, really well. I thought they did an excellent job. There's also a newsletter that I'm subscribed to that provides some great insights into AI prompting and new AI tools that are springing up, just to kind of keep a finger on the pulse. And that is called, give me a sec. If I can't find it right here and now, I will send it to Catherine to include in our email. Maybe I'll have a list of those because there's a couple. And again, there's two podcasts and there's two newsletters that are like my only ones that I consume. Because if I start adding more, it can get really overwhelming. So I'll share those four, but my top is the Amy Porterfield Show. The other one is a podcast. It's the Social Media Marketing Examiner podcast. And I'll share links with Catherine so that you get those and links to the two newsletters that I'm also subscribed to. But that's a great question, Chris. Thank you for the feedback and thank you for the inquiry. Yeah, and I'll share that information with you all. Catherine also asked, are there blogs or podcasts that you... Oh, yes, I just answered that. It can get, like I said, it can get a little overwhelming with all the information that we're seeing, we're receiving. So pick and choose, just like you pick and choose the platforms to use, pick and choose the data the information that you're consuming as a result revolves around AI, but more to come on that. Are there certifying organizations you recommend to receive additional instruction on AI tools in social media marketing? There's There's Coursera and I think on Coursera there's a couple different AI certifications you can receive. Some of them free, some of them very low cost, but I do recommend them. I did a couple and that's where the Google had a AI university, and it was basically learning how to prompt. So using ChatGPT and other generative AI language learning models to learn how to create effective prompting techniques. And so those would definitely be some to keep an eye out for off the top of my head. Yeah, Coursera, and there's a Google AI University course that was really good on there, just to kind of break it down to the basics. And it also kind of gives you peels the curtain at what AI is. Because if I feel like if you understand it a little bit more, it's easier to um, wrap your head around it. And essentially, it's a predictive language model. So it predicts what words are most likely to make the most sense. And so that at the basic level, that's wild because it produces so much more beyond that. But at the basics, that's what it is. It's a predictive language model. I would also love to keep in touch with you guys. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, you can reach me at your preferred communication method, my email, Instagram, social media. Um, I need to change that logo to the new X, but you can tweet me. But this is where you can reach me. If you have any other concerns, just let me know you were a part of this webinar, and I'd be happy to answer any questions today, or if something comes up in the near future, please reach out. Happy to connect with you.